This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. We're here at Grassroots Medicinal in beautiful Squamish, British Columbia. And of course, I'm joined by our good friend Chad Jackett of Grassroots Medicinal, Liberty Farms, and CannaGrowers.ca. Now, Chad, legalization is right around the corner. Bill C45 just passed the Senate. It is now on royal assent. And for those of you who may not be familiar, what that means is it now comes down to the Queen signing off on this and turning the bill into an actual law, which we're told is going to be set in place on October 17th, but we've been told a lot of things in regards to legalization. So I want to get into some of the specifics about what this new law is going to deal with. But before we get into that, what would you say, in a nutshell, are Canadians going to be getting what they want out of legalization here in Canada?
Absolutely not. They are going to be hit with a lot more laws. Stiffer penalties, a lot more jail time for trying to sell or trade the product. You're going to see what I believe to be extremely intrusive and unconstitutional DNA samples on the side of the road to determine whether you have cannabis in your system or not, which are going to be arbitrary as well, because whether you have the cannabis in your system at the rates they're telling you have them in your system or not doesn't mean you're actually intoxicated. Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of bad stuff that's coming down the pipes. They say that if you deny doing the roadside DNA tests, that you will automatically get charged. You will obtain a criminal record for denying this terribly draconian and what I would consider an unconstitutional law, to take somebody's DNA on the side of the road arbitrarily.
Yeah, that's what it amounts to, is essentially collecting DNA. And as I understand it, they might not even...
No, that's under, actually, it's actually under Bill 46.
Under 46, that's right.
That one. But that's the driving aspect of what they're bringing in with all this, of C45 and all that. Yeah.
And I don't think they're even going to need reasonable suspicion that you're intoxicated of anything. Once the bill passes, they'll be able to just demand a breathalyzer of anyone.
It seems to be. So even people that don't use cannabis at all should be very concerned about this law, because now you're going to be stuck in those lines on the side of the road where you're, in a roadblock, and you could be subject to having your DNA harvested from you on the side of the road from government officials, that are not even officials, or just police, some thuggish police officer on the side of the road telling you, give me your DNA, not even your papers. How have we come all the way from show me your papers being too much to now give me your DNA on the side of the road because you might have used a medicinal herb, right?
And now we've seen the monopolization going on behind the scenes, but now it's coming out in the forefront. And one part that many people may be confused about is this aspect that we may be able to grow up to 4 plants at home. Now, this was suggested federally, but as I understand it, a couple provinces like Quebec and Manitoba are not going to be allowing this to happen, but other provinces will. Now, how is this going to factor into the LP scheme? I mean, I can't help but wonder, are they going to clamp down on certain strains? Is only certain strains going to be allowed to be used? I mean, what do you know when it comes to the 4-plant allowance?
Well, in the rules, it does have laws against what they consider not lawful cannabis or illicit cannabis. So cannabis that isn't crony grown by the government's chosen people, if you are caught with that, there's a good chance by what I read in their writing that you'll be charged just for having the wrong cannabis, right? Mm-hmm. So how they'll prove that and go about proving that is yet to be said, but yeah, that's what it looks like they're trying to do.
Seems like still so much of a gray area in terms of determining if people are stoned. As I understand it, you can grow 4 plants, but you can't see them. Have you heard something about that?
I've heard something about that, and I think it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If somebody sees them, you could get charged. And now all these rules also that they're coming in with, I believe are going to cause a lot of other problems, because, what happens now if all of a sudden you're caught or somebody rats you out for trading 30 grams plus more of cannabis to your friend or neighbor or something, and now you're facing up to 14 years in prison. Mm-hmm. Do you think that might actually cause more of a rift where somebody, getting caught in that situation might now get violent and might want to just erase the people that are trying to rat them out for 30 grams of cannabis? I mean, these could cause other huge problems I foresee. And it could cause this industry to turn into a more violent situation, very violent. If you're worried that, somebody's going to rat you out for your 4 plants in your backyard, and your neighbor calls the police on you, and you could be up facing jail time for a plant. Who knows what people would do? People act crazy in stressful situations like that. And so I really just hope the government sees that, this is going to cause more problems than it's going to help. And it's going to cause more violent behavior and more anger and aggression and more situations that are just not going to be good for the public at all.
It seems that they're using this bill in such a way as to take over the rights of Canadians that they wouldn't have been able to do beforehand. I mean, as it is right now, you're not going to do 14 years in prison if you're caught driving while high, and they don't even have the means to be able to take your DNA roadside. A lot of these things are coming in because of this, so we have to be careful where we go moving forward. And maybe the focus should never have been legalization. Maybe when it comes to prohibition, decriminalization should have been the focus. And is there still room for us to move this in an area that's going to be beneficial to, Canadians, producers such as yourself, where it's not going to be monopolized completely by the government? Is there still hope here for the mom and pop shops in the cannabis community in Canada?
Well, I sure hope so, and I'm hopeful. And I know the public, we have the public support. The public understands that this plant is not what the government is making it out to be. They realize that they are just, they're saying all these arbitrary things about it to form a monopoly so that they can own the industry. And so we have public support. We just don't have these cronies' support. So I do think that's positive. I also think that with what they're doing with the licensed producers, it has some positive aspects to it, in the sense that they're sort of normalizing the cannabis in the eyes of people that normally wouldn't even look into cannabis. So this whole legalization thing being in the media and all that is raising attention, and it's also, raising the hypocrisy of, well, wait a minute, there's these young boys that I know in the neighborhood that used to grow cannabis, and now they're not allowed, and now these bigwigs are, and these guys are going to jail, and people are starting to see this. So I think it's a matter of time, but we really have a lot of work to do. We really do. So. Yeah.
Well, it's crunch time. As we said, this is apparently going to be dished out come October 17th. The new law is going to come into effect. But that doesn't mean there's not still any time for us to get our ducks in a line, to be able to protect the rights of the growers who have built this industry here in British Columbia in particular, and guys like yourself. So,
the one thing I'd like to say, too, is this whole legislation that they're bringing in, it's for non-medicinal recreational cannabis. So it doesn't apply to anybody that's in the medicinal world. Like, we are a medicinal dispensary. Where do we fit in non-medicinal recreational cannabis? We don't. We're here supplying people that need medicinal cannabis with the best medicinal cannabis that we can supply them with. So all these regulations and rules that are coming in are sort of scaring a lot of people, and there's a lot of people even in the medicinal world that are like, well, what are we going to do? Well, you have to understand the language. The language doesn't apply to you. If it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. So recreational cannabis doesn't apply to me. Non-medicinal cannabis, I don't use. So that's what I have to say. Be careful with words and termination and how they define things, because in law, these things mean a lot, So...
and everyone who uses medicinally, let's let it be known. Like, don't get confused about what's coming down the road here. You're going to not get the options that you're seeing back here on the shelves here that are highly medicinally beneficial. You're not going to get that. You're going to get access to LP, licensed producers, government issued, Monsanto seed, radiated, low medicinal beneficial cannabis. That's all you're going to have access to under legalization, right?
Exactly, and you're going to be stuck with your canopy growth or your whoever is out there, your Bedrocans of the world, and these guys are not really in it for your benefit. They don't really care about you so much. They care about their bottom line, and that's unfortunate, but it's the truth. And it's sad to see that there's some people that have been getting sucked in by these people that are pretty strong voices in the community. We've been hearing some announcements in the last little while that there's been a few activists and lawyers that have gone to the side of the licensed producers, which just leaves it, with that much less of an option for people like myself and people in the community to go to a lawyer, because now these lawyers are now working for the other side, which maybe they were for a long time and they're just now announcing it. But who would know?
Well, we're still in the infancy of this fork in the road, if you will, so it can really still go in any direction. So if people want to still get involved, there is still hope. Let them know some of the links that they can go to. You've started some organizations that are leading the way here. What are the links? Where can people go if they want to get involved?
So the Cannabis Growers of Canada is an organization we started in 2014 officially, and it was started to be a voice for the community that built this industry and to stand against the top-down system that is trying to push us all out and put us all in prison. And to really put the public in jeopardy with this, tainted licensed producer cannabis that is already in the court systems. There's already class action lawsuits against these individuals for poisoning their patients with illegal pesticides that were sprayed on their cannabis and was left on their cannabis. So, I don't want to leave my patients, of thousands of patients that I have, to be susceptible to this terrible LP option and that be their only option. Especially after they've known this product for so long, they know what works for them, and for me to just not be there because the government is trying to tell me that, we now have to use this cannabis because my friends need to make more money in the stock market and you're not allowed to function. Well, I can't really get down with that. So I'm sorry, and I hope that everybody else out there feels the same way. We've got to stand up for our communities, and we've got to stand up for what's right, and that's the bottom line.
Well, I know the PFT audience is certainly interested in supporting a free and fair open market in any regard. So if that is what you're into, support guys like Chad. And
I kind of got on a tangent there. But yeah, so support us at the Cannabis Growers of Canada as well. It's cannabisgrowersofcanada.ca. We are trying to do everything we can to get the word out there, to raise awareness, to talk to as many politicians as possible. Also legal battles and all kinds of stuff we see in the forefront here. We also need as many lawyers that are free-thinking lawyers to contact us, because we are running out of lawyers. They are running from the scene of freedom in this country, and they're running to the side of tyranny. So we need as many freedom-loving lawyers out there to contact us and get involved with the Cannabis Growers of Canada, because we all need you, and we need to know who to recommend to our people, who to talk to. So.
All right, there's the call. You know who you are. If you're watching this video, check the links in the description below to find out how you can get involved, how you can join, or if you can support if you are indeed a lawyer. Chad Jackett, once again, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.